Ja, velkommen til dagens Lynskarp, hvor vi ved næste 30 minutter vil fortælle lidt om Nearshoring og hjemmekontor har mange af de samme egenskaber. Vi skal prøve at have et par minutter til sidst i præsentationen for eventuelt spørgsmål og for at svare på de. Præsentationen vil blive gennemført på engelsk. So, short introduction. So, who are we? My name is Benjamin Tøstesen. I'm head of application Nearshoring. Has been working intensively on team delivery for the extended team, what we call Nearshoring. Have about 20 years of experience in various leadership roles in IT industry, mainly consultancy, telco, and logistic industry. Have been working intensively on large-scale digital development and infrastructure programs and projects, and has had teams spanning most of the corners of the world, from teams to individual developers. I'll be talking about how Nearshoring differs from how we work today, or said in a different way, how little it differs, what Nearshoring isn't and is, as we have named it in Sopra Steria, the extended team. And then I'll talk about office developers, competency and capabilities we have built up in Poland. And then at the end I'll round up with talk about why Sopra Steria has built up these capabilities in Poland with our extended team. Please feel free to ask any questions during the presentation if you have any questions or comments, and we will try to answer them in the end of the presentation. I will hand it over to Stanislav to present himself.
Benjamin. Hello everyone, my name is Stanislav. I'm a personal lead for our Nearshoring team in Katowice, Poland. During my career, I worked for 3 years in Ukraine as a part of outsourcing offshore teams that primarily worked on the US market. Next 3 years, I worked in Poland, where we built Nearshoring department of 60 people. This department worked for the Norwegian market with the main focus on e-commerce sector. The last 3 years I spent here in Norway, and now I'm helping Benjamin to build and lead Nearshoring teams in Poland that work for Norwegian customers. So today I would be talking about how we are overcoming our main challenges related to remote work and distributed teams. Thank you, Benjamin.
Yes, thank you, Stanislav. So, as many of us nowadays experience on ourselves and know, the new norm is sort of working from home or remotely. Seems to be the situation we are all in nowadays, where we have our laptops with secured connection to the office. We have our guidelines and procedures to how to work remotely. Much of our meetings and conferences are nowadays done online, and that has sort of also, we've seen had a positive side to it, that we have actually become more efficient on our day-to-day work, being more productive in what we do and work with, and are more available for instant messages and easy contact, to be contacted easily. And this approach we have, or this way of working, many of us have been working for the last 6 months, has actually been is very similar to how our Nearshoring team has been working for several years. Now they are, of course, now also working from home most of the time now, but before it was in the office in Katowice, Poland, they were working. I'll get into that later on. So this concept of working is very familiar to our team in Poland, working in a geographic distributed team approach. Actually, to be clear about this, some research has actually shown that communication challenges, to go a little bit into those areas, actually happens when people can't see each other. There's little difference between working in the same building or on the same floor and working from a different city, location, or even a similar country. The similarities are quite the same working culture, time zone, similar or same ethics, guidelines, procedures we are seeing here. So the biggest barrier we have is actually when we do offshore, and offshore is not what we're talking about here, and we are not working with. But is when it talks about offshore, it's mainly the work ethics, work culture, time zone, guidelines, procedures. Is quite different from what we are, how we are working today. And to those who are not familiar with what nearshore offshore concept is, nearshore is not working with or using capabilities in China, India, or South America, and it's not outsourcing of services or applications. This is tend to be more offshore principles or approaches. But what Sopra Steria application nearshore is all about is utilizing our skilled colleagues in near proximity. So here we're talking about Katowice, Poland, as an extended Sopra Steria Norway team, hence the extended team naming. And they are working in a similar approach as any other Norwegian would work here in Norway. They are working in a traditional consultancy service way of offering either as a team or as individual consultants. So this is quite similar to how a similar setup to here in Norway. So our team and with that in mind, we started several years ago actually building up this software development department in Katowice. Our focus at that point was to recruit senior developers, architects, scrum masters, experts in various areas of software development, working with our Norwegian colleagues here in Norway as a blended setup where we have Norwegians and some from Poland working together on either project or program or any other constellations. Our team in Katowice, Poland this is about the 2 hours travel from Oslo, and we do have sometimes in the past prior to COVID-19 customer visits there, and that is possible. It's about 80 kilometers from Krakow and 2.7 million citizens there, with 23 universities, and that's one of the reasons why we started out in Katowice, due to the amount of universities and IT pool, you could say, in that city. We have about 140 developers. Of those, 25 is purely allocated to the Oslo office or Norway as such. And they are recruited and managed, developed and onboarded by the Norwegian management team here in Oslo. And so we here in Oslo actually control and manage the entire team there. As you can see in the bottom right corner there, that's the red dot. That's where Katowice is, for those who don't know. And on the left side, you have the building there with the sort of the ring turning around in the city center area. Another thing which we were focused on from the very beginning was partly building up the team, but also to ensure security was high on the priority list. So we started from the very beginning implementing strict security regulations and guidelines that has actually through the time enabled us to work with some public customers, which has required high level of security. both in terms of physical security, but also in terms of software-wise security and network security. So that is, in addition to this, the office is also ISO 27001 certified. So security is quite high, especially in these times, on our agenda list. Some of the skills we have built up in our team is, as you can see here in the picture, is just a snapshot of the technologies we've been working with. But some of the main technologies that we have seen a high demand for is Amazon Web Service, Azure, .NET, Java, and somewhat SharePoint as well. But it's actually full stack developers we have built up a team around, and the experience is spanning somewhere between from 4 or 5 years to 18 to 20 years of experience in the software development architecture business area. And we see the demand increasing in the market for these capabilities, either in projects or in digital transformation programs. And so why did we actually start on this initiative, building up a team in Katowice? And the primary reason were actually we lacked the resources in Norway to do all the projects that was asked from us to do. So many of the digital transformation, system development, and mobile application projects required resources which were difficult to find. Hence, we were faced with a lack of skilled resources, or the right skilled resources in some of the projects. And that was some of the main reason why we started out down this road here of building up our team. That has enabled us to take on, actually, by building up this team has enabled us to take on new and more exciting projects, and has also given our colleagues here in Norway the opportunity to work in an international setting and give them a valuable experience and knowledge for future projects. So this is a win-win situation, I would say. Nowadays, we're also seeing the cost aspect is sort of high on the agenda for many customers. It seems that the market is becoming more and more competitive. There is a higher demand for lower cost, more efficient and faster product to market expectations here. So, and that's probably also why we are seeing an increasing demand for skilled resources. So one of the customers we've been working with and are still working with now is HoloCare Mixed Reality. Now, HoloCare is an innovative cutting-edge technology company built on providing medical procedure through mixed reality. Quite interesting project. We have a blended Scrum-based development team of local Norwegians and extended team members from Katowice. The team from Katowice is about up to about 5 developers from our team there, and they are working in close cooperation on a daily basis with our colleagues in Norway. Initially, when they started out the project, we had the whole team gathered together in one office space here in Oslo, where they worked together for 2 weeks. And including some social activities as well. And this was actually to build up a common understanding of the project and goals, and sort of interrelations, understanding between the different members of the team. Afterward, they traveled back to Poland, and nowadays they have these daily stand-ups. In addition to that, they are doing ad hoc crisscross discussions, idea generation, troubleshootings, and more. Through various online tools. This has actually been a quite overwhelming success, I would say. We have received quite a good feedback on the entire team, and especially from our colleagues in Poland, how they have assisted in this project. The side bonus has also been that it has created a cultural understanding working in an internet setting and also cross-country friendship has developed in this project. Another customer we've been sort of working with or working on is Avinor Horizon project. Avinor Flysikring provides flight control information and alarm service for 18 control towers in Norway. Our team, our extended team, helped to develop an application that utilized optimizing algorithms, making optimal schedules for our air controllers by taking into account all the historical data, management, and employees' preferences. The team setup was quite similar to the team setup in Holocare, and the same approach was utilized. And we had about 6-7 developers from Poland, and roughly the same here in Norway of resources, team size. And they are still working on this project. The feedback as well has been here quite well. We received numerous feedbacks actually from various customers expressing their satisfaction and happiness with the delivery we have done in the past and are still doing. Then going into sort of but you might say that we have tried this before. We have done nearshore, offshore before, and it didn't work for us. We had communication barriers. There was security concerns. We spent a lot of time on requirements, specifications. Transparency was an issue, or lack of it. We couldn't monitor the team's progress. So we've heard these concerns, and I've experienced those as well in some previous projects in my past experience. So we know about these, and that's why we have ironed those out in our delivery model. And that's why it has been such a success, hence the great feedback we have received. So I will now hand it over to Stanislav, who will talk a little bit about those challenges and our delivery model.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Yeah.
So before I start, I want to remind you that you can ask questions in our Q&A section. So let's talk about challenges that you can face while working with remote teams. The first one is team development and performance. The next one that we would be talking about is employee feeling of belonging to the company. This one is very important. We will focus on this a lot. And the last one is, of course, information security. So when you work with remote teams, it is essential to understand which challenges are classic team development challenges and which are related just to remote work. On this slide, you can see an example of standard challenges like free riding, inefficient decision making, and lack of transparency. Most often, those problems are not related to the remote work itself. Those problems are classic team development and performance problems, and we recommend to treat them as such, as classic, first of all. It is very easy when you work with remote teams to run into this trap. It doesn't work because of remote. But the main risk here is that you can just focus on a wrong thing. So instead of solving proper performance and team development challenges, you can just like try to find something wrong with remote work of working itself. So it's a big trap. So when it comes to remote teams, one of the main challenges here that we recommend you to pay attention from the very beginning, and it's quite surprising one, is heroism and overworking. People who work on remote would be doing extra work very often without being asked, and often will not report any additional hours. And in short term, it seems to be okay, but in long term, this problem can grow to the main problem why you would lose your main and key resources on your projects. So pay a lot of attention to it. You definitely don't want to lose your best engineers on your project because they are overworking. When it comes to free riding, for example, it's classic challenge, and the standard Scrum events are enough to catch it all. For addressing inefficient decision making, you just experiment a bit with digital tools, how you use Confluence, Slack, or Teams, and some polls maybe, and also use standard decision making and estimation techniques like Fist to 5 and planning poker during video calls. The thing is with decision making that in 3-4 sprints, distributed teams and remote teams will become and can become more structured in decision making than on-site teams. Actually, they will have quite good structure for coming to some decisions, which would be very beneficial. The last challenge is the lack of transparency. We learned it kind of hard way how to deal with it. So we recommend to deal with it by adhering to Agile principle number 7. Work in software is the primary measure of progress. You can experiment with digital tools, with trackings and KPIs and so on, but again, you would be into risk focusing on a wrong thing. Let's talk now about next big challenge. This one is very important. So while working with remote teams, feeling of belonging and certainty is a challenge where you need to spend a lot of your attention. If you do it right, you will have high employee retention and a healthy work environment. Employee retention can be a problem with remote teams, but again, if you focus on this challenge very well, a lot of attention on feeling of belonging, it will never be a problem. So how to do it? The number one is frequent one-on-one communication. We recommend to do peer-to-peer meetings every 2 weeks or minimum once a month. And in addition to do frequent catch-ups with your employees. To build a vision of the future in company, you need to help remote employees with career planning and individual promotion criteria. So do such meetings every 4-6 months. Give them some very small things to accomplish during this period, and then actually follow up on it. It's very helpful. The last one is proactive inclusion. What we mean by this is that you need to empower them to make all the decisions. Like all the decisions that potentially can be made by them should be made by them. And also what works well for us is targeted mentoring, where they are mentoring each other. Yeah, so feeling of belonging and certainty definitely shouldn't be overlooked. It's like very crucial for a healthy work environment in a remote context and for high employee retention. With the challenge of information security when it comes to remote teams, to deal with it, employees just sign NDAs and get in protected work environment. But the main here is the principle of least privilege. Give them access only to what they need to do the work done. The trade-off here would be that it can slow down a little bit of development process since they all the time will have to request the success, but it's the only way to protect important information for you. So how do we do it? We put a lot of focus on proactive inclusion, recruitment, and distributed agile. We created a framework for personal leads, where the main goal for personal lead is to keep high employee satisfaction and feeling of belonging to the company by frequent one-on-one communication and career planning. As well, personal leads are responsible for organizing social activities, and we are paying a lot of attention on targeted mentoring. We are calling this employee-to-employee program. The idea here is that employees are mentoring each other in different areas. It can be communication, presentation, negotiation, or any kind of technical skills. One of the main beneficial outcomes in this employee-to-employee program is that it is removing this barrier of asking for help. And in remote context, this barrier of asking for help is very high, and targeted mentoring helps a lot because it's very easy for employees to ask for help their mentors. We are paying a lot of attention to recruitment process as well. The market in Poland allows us to be quite picky. There are only like 5% of candidates that are getting from screening to employment in our team. We are focused mainly on senior and architect level developers, as Benjamin mentioned before, and the average year of experience in our team is around 8. We have quite long recruitment process. It's interview with recruiter, technical interview in Poland, interview with manager in Poland, then interview with managers in Norway, and after that, technical assignment. So during recruitment process, we focused on soft skills and on consulting way of working. Yeah. So our main approach to work is distributed agile. We always try to distribute all the roles very equally between Poland and Norway. We have architects, Scrum Master, and QA leads on Polish side. We provide them with all the possible equipment to simplify the communication flow. It is stand-up areas, video bridges, and of course, good headsets. But the main in this distributed agile setup, it's trust. And I believe that agile principle number 5 summarizes it very well. Build projects around motivated individuals, give them environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. And sure enough, they will. If you have any questions, please use our Q&A section. Thank you, Benjamin.
Yes, thank you, Stanislav. We have one question here from Håkon Alstad. Do you think the turnover is lower in remote teams? I'm not sure if it's lower than compared to Norway, but I can say that we have not had in those last few years anyone who resigned from our team, and it seems the happiness is quite high. I don't know, Stanislav, do you have any comments to this?
So by default, rate that employees live in teams is higher in Poland overall in remote teams. But again, that's why during this presentation, I emphasize it so much on this feeling of belonging to the company. You have to be very proactive and very proactively include them to keep high employee retention. And if you do it, it could be better than local teams. So our team in Poland has for sure higher employee retention than local employees.
Yeah, I would probably think the same here. That's all. I don't have any other questions. There's one more coming in here now from Anonymous. What are the most frequent problems due to lack of transparency? You want to answer that, Stanislav?
Yes. So I saw in many teams that due to the lack of transparency, the problem here is that customer want to track everything. They are adding so many tools for that it's like then demotivate completely developers in Poland. Then they just start like feeling that they are not trusted at all. And here is it almost always goes along with the other problems that customer is not working well enough on prioritization of requirements and so on. And then in the end, it comes to the moment in time where just team talk together with customers, they go through the backlog, prioritize everything, and then start getting this feeling how fast they are working and how they move forward. So with transparency, again, I would recommend to focus first on prioritization of the job and just adhere to main agile principles.
I would agree. That's some of the things we've seen in the past projects as well.
Yeah, we just learned it a very hard way, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it, and I think also the time has run out for us. There's no more questions as well, so I would appreciate your time to see our presentation here, and thank you very much, and wish you all a very pleasant day and have a good time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.